Welcome back to Educated Kids training session, and we are continuing with our social skill development series. And under social skill development series, we have been discussing about the problem behavior issues among children and various strategies that we are putting to take care of those problem behaviors. And under this section, we are discussing about attention problem or overactiveness of the child and various ways to deal with them. So under this, we'll be talking about one such behavior where the child is taking away things from other children, and such behavior is quite common among some children in preschool years, and thus the teachers and the parents must able to identify such behavior and ensure that necessary strategy or necessary amendments are done to ensure the child such behavior is modified in right time. Now question comes immediately that as parents or teachers, how do we identify such behavior in the children which leads to such kind of aggressive behavior? One thing we must be vigilant towards, that is the child forcibly takes things from other children, and in school environment or at social environment we often observe that a particular child forcibly takes away things from other children, and as a response to this behavior, sometimes we parents or the stakeholders or the child's caretaker, we do not work anything at that particular situation by thinking that such kind of behavior is normal and child will take care of such situation once the child grows up. But that doesn't happen. And all this we are discussing here so that we understand that such kind of behavior needs attention immediately so that the child will not commit such kind of behavior when the child grows up. And second condition could be that the child steals things of other children. This may happen when the other children, they are not aware that this particular child is taking things from their bag or from their belongings without their knowledge. Sometimes even if the other child is aware, but this particular child takes away things and which can be termed as stealing behavior. These are the two situations where such behavior is built up and child continues the behavior if such behavior is not taken care of. And such behavior is quite common among children, but important thing here is that we must act on such behavior so that the child's social connectiveness or social effectiveness will be better. Now, once we identify as teachers or parents, then it becomes important for us how to modify such behavior when the child is displaying such behavior either at school or at home. Number one, we must understand that such behavior happens due to the absence of one quality, what is we call sharing. Sharing is one good social behavior, and we try to inbuild such behavior in our children in either preschool environment or at home environment. So there are various strategies can be applied to improve the sharing nature in the child, and such behavior can be built by just displaying or demonstrating that habit of giving or sharing our own possession with other children. Once that sharing or putting or giving our possessions to other children, that demonstration will help the child to know this kind of behavior is quite common. Then child will adapt to that, and gradually the nature of taking away things will be set away. But if the child is not exposed to the nature or the behavior of sharing, then such behavior, stealing behavior or taking away things from the others will keep on augmenting, and this will not be taken care of. So sharing is a skill, and most of the schools, they know that the sharing skill can be improved quite easily. So that is one thing we need to do. Second is that sharing of possessions must start at home. Sometimes if the sharing or caring kind of behavior is not demonstrated at home environment, then the child carries the image that not giving something or not sharing something with others is normal. And when the child carries that perception or carries that understanding, then it may happen that I must have those things if I do not have those things immediately with me. Meaning, if other child has something, but this other the child in concern doesn't have that particular position, the child will always think that I must have those positions with me. So by hook or by crook, the child will try to have those positions without looking for sharing kind of situation. So then that will lead to either stealing of that position of other children, or possibly taking that position from the other children. Therefore, at home, we must try to display and demonstrate such sharing kind of behavior in front of our child. That will help quite a lot. Then finally, another thing we must do as teachers and parents, when such kind of behavior is displayed or demonstrated by our own child, first and foremost thing we do, just we shout to our child and say, do not do this kind of things. And when we do, this may be effective for adult, but when we say something to the child, do not do a particular thing, as a part of child psychology, the child will most likely do those things more and more. So the habit of saying do not do this, do not do that will not help at all to manage a negative behavior or problematic behavior in the child. We have to do the strategy other way around. We try to bring those positive things through demonstration, and that's where it works. So these are the few things. There are multiple things, multiple ways how we can develop the skill of sharing in the child, so that it could be the sharing the food during the lunch break in the school, then sharing the other possession among each other. In our previous couple of sessions, we have already discussed quite a lot of other strategies which will help improving the sharing quality in the child. So those things we must do as teachers and parents. Most important, we keep on doing all these things, but most important thing what we need to do is that we keep on tracking those things as a documentation, so that we know how much improvement or how much repetition of these skills is happening in the child. So as we said that we have two things to track in our child's behavior. Number one is that, is the child forcibly taking things away from other children? Yes or no? To do that, if the child is not doing at all, then we give a score of 0. And sometimes and rarely the child is doing such kind of behavior, then we assign a score of 1. If it is sometimes, then 2. And if the child is doing often, then we assign a score of 3. Similarly, another behavior we must track in our children, that is related to if the child is stealing thinks of other children. And if such behavior happens, we have to give the score like 0 for never and 3 for quite often. And such evaluation has to be done at least once in 6 months if such kind of behavior is present in our children. So such tracking will help us to document things for the reference of all the stakeholders who are responsible for the skill development of the child, so that we know where our child stands as far as this negative social skill is concerned. I think this is quite straightforward and this is very easy to practice in our preschools. But important thing is that make a diary or tracking list. Anyway, Idevaret Kids is providing a set of tracking tools, and the total score and interpretation of the score. But even if that is not with you, you can have your own tool and you can have a tracking routine so that the child's behavior can be tracked and documented, so that any point of time we can see that whether there is a development happening in the behavior or not. Thank you so much, and we will move to the fourth aspects of this attention or overactiveness of the behavior, which deals with the difficulty in concentration or staying for a longer time in a particular task. Those things we will discuss in our next session of learning. And up to that time, thank you so much for your attentive listening. And we are sure that all of our efforts bringing those awareness to the parents and teachers will go a long way to build the social skill and emotional skills of our children. Thank you so much, and we'll be meeting in our next session with the fourth aspect of the social skill building, which deals with the negative skill behavior among the children. Thank you so much.